AI isn't people. And so if you want to get better results from ChatGPT, you need to learn how to speak computer. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to learn how to code. In fact, learning how to use AI basically means we never have to learn how to use code. But although you don't have to be a computer scientist to use AI, it does help if you have a little bit of a sense of what's happening underneath the hood every time you're making a request. So every time you go and you use ChatGPT, I want you to think about this. Essentially what's happening is just 3 steps. There's an input step, right? This is where you provide information and context. There's a processing step. This is where the AI does its stuff. And then there's an output step. It's when it gives you a piece of information. And input output, super easy to understand. We can give it whatever we want and get out whatever we want. We can give it text, we can give it documents, we can give it code or images or audio or video or anything we want. We give that as an input. It then goes into the model, does a whole bunch of processing, and then we can get out whatever we want. We can get out images or text or documents or code or video or whatever. So when we talk about AI being multimodal, it just means we can give it anything and get out anything. Now, let's zoom into the processing that's happening in the middle. And there's only 3 things that we need to know about that processing step. Now, the first thing is that not all models are the same. So when we talk about AI, it's not one single thing. What it is it's just a big computer that's got a whole bunch of information stored in it. And some models have got lots of generalist information. They've got, the full context of the internet, like every book that's been written, all the YouTube videos, just anything that you could stuff into a computer, it's got, and it's sitting in that big model. Right? So that's one kind. Now, there are other kinds. There are kinds that are only got medical information or ones that are only got legal information. And so knowing what kind of model you're putting your information into is going to drastically dictate what kind of information or what kind of response you're going to get. The second thing that you want to know is that models don't have live information in it. It's only got information that's trained into it from the past. So you can think about it as like Google Street View. It has a picture of every house in the world, but that picture was probably taken a few years ago, and it just updates its picture periodically. So if the output you want requires it to have information that's personal to you or is a live thing from the internet right now, you needed to know what the weather is right now, then you need to provide that information as part of the input step because it's not saved within the actual model itself. Then the third thing that's important to know about models is some of them have a reasoning component. Basically what that means is some models, what they'll do is they'll take your input and they'll break it down into a series of steps. And then it'll just go through and it'll execute each step one by one. It'll essentially do a little like input, processing, output loop in itself. It'll just keep doing it until it's happy with the output that's generated, and then it'll give that to you, which is particularly good if you wanted to do things like coding or science or math that kind of require many, many steps to be taken in a particular order. So some models have this reasoning component, some models don't have that reasoning component. So practically speaking, what did all of that mean? Well, when you're going and you're prompting ChatGPT, you need to think of these 4 things. You need to make sure that you pick the right model for what you're trying to do. A good generalist model is ChatGPT 4o. Now, depending on the output you want to create, you need to make sure that you give all the information to the model that it needs, remembering that it doesn't have live information or anything current. It only has stuff from the past. The third thing is that if you need to do something complex, like science, math, or coding, make sure that you choose a reasoning model. And the last thing is know explicitly what you want the output to be. Now, if you can do all of that, you'll consistently get better results.